you name whatever the ailment is.
I've got
Not going
it.
to miss an episode. Not going to miss
Kidney
an episode.
stone. We're
Kidney
on.
stones. Blumhouse, right? We've reviewed a lot of these films on the podcast.
And they're really hit and miss.
They're very hit and miss. Welcome to the Oh Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
Halloween Fest rolls on.
You know what? It's like the post office. It's like, nor heat nor sleet or nice shirt. Mike showing off his I Got a Rock t-shirt, which is, of course, the great pumpkin Charlie Brown.
I got a rock. I got a rock. I got a rock.
And I already got my rock for this Halloween.
Yeah,
No
well,
more
that's what I was.
rocks.
That's what I was saying. The the postal service slogan for years, right? It's like no matter what, the blizzard, we
Yeah.
still deliver the mail. It's no different with the Oh Brother Podcast. Fractured ribs. You name whatever the ailment is.
I've
Not
got
going
it.
to miss an episode. Not going to miss an
Kidney
episode. folks.
stone. We're
Kidney
on.
stones. Yeah, you've had kidney stones on the air,
I have.
like been in progress,
With people not even knowing it.
right? So.
You know.
So this episode is no different. Mike forging on here in the interest of keeping Halloween Fest alive and no
Gotta
delay.
keep it rolling.
Got to keep it rolling, which is the fact that you're half the man you used to be.
Well, I'm gonna snap it off and make a girlfriend.
What's that?
My rib.
Oh, I see. Is that
Just
a
like the
biblical
big man.
reference?
That's a biblical thing.
I see. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, on that note,
Next,
let's dive in.
getting on to M3GAN.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about Model 3 Generative Android, aka M3GAN. I didn't realize that was the whole thing with the name, but
Well,
that
you just
is.
taught me something.
Oh, you didn't realize that?
No.
It's mentioned in the beginning of the film, but all right. So
Yeah.
we're talking about M3GAN now. We contemplated doing this kind of back when it came out. Now, this originally was released January 6th, 2023. It is since now, as of this recording, it's on Peacock. It landed on Peacock in February, and the Blu-ray is out now, I think, in March.
Yeah, you know what's happening, which is really odd, is movies are showing up on streaming. Then they show up on 4K or Blu-ray. And a lot of times there's
Sure.
a delay. You get the Blu-ray and then you got to wait a month for the 4K. So I don't know what's going on with the distributors.
Is that a commentary on the physical digital media argument?
Well, I'll
perhaps?
tell you, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, you're locked in for now. I've
For
seen
now.
a
It'll
little
be
bit
me and the one company that still makes them.
much like your ribs. I've seen a little bit of a hairline crack in the foundation of your,
Yeah.
commitment to physical media. But there are plenty of people out there in your camp as well. I'm, as you know, except for Halloween
Right.
and a few other exceptions, maybe Godfather, I'm full on digital. So now, as I said, the Blu-ray DVD came out in March. So you mentioned the 4K. What's the release on that? Is that already out or it's not out yet?
I'm not sure if it's out yet.
Okay.
Last time I checked, it wasn't, but
Okay.
that was that was pre when I had full ribs.
Now this had some delays, maybe not as much as others, but this was somewhat impacted by COVID. It was because the filming wrapped in August of 2021.
Oh, okay.
So this had been in the can for a while.
And they've already greenlit M3GAN too.
They have, and we'll talk about that. We'll get into that. But so let me run down kind of just the sort of the highlights here as we typically do. It's got a PG-13 rating. You're looking at a runtime about an hour and 42 minutes. Directed by Gerard Johnstone, written by Akela Cooper in collaboration with James Wan. Produced by Jason Blum and James Wan, who you've talked about a lot recently during Halloween Fest. Curious to see what your thoughts are on James Wan as we get through this episode. Not tipping the hat, but might be a little indication. There
I
where we're at
think
with this
I
one.
think an indication.
Now the cast here, let's just give a little, few of the main players here. Allison Williams plays Gemma, who of course
Was that
is
Allison Williams?
the daughter of Brian Williams, of
Yeah.
course, from MSNBC, NBC fame. Yeah.
How did I not pick up on that?
Oh, I thought you would have known that going in. Yeah.
I should have, because I like
Mhm.
her.
Yeah, yeah. So Allison Williams, Violet McGraw, who plays her niece Katie, and I'll have you set up the synopsis so you can kind of
Mhm.
reference Katie. And I do want to say we did a recent episode on the black phone, the old black phone,
The old black
and
phone.
that starred one of the young actors in that film was Madeline McGraw. They're sisters.
Wow.
Ronnie Chang plays David, and then Amy Donald is the sort of physical actor behind Megan. And we can talk about the effects and all that sort of stuff. This was put out by Universal Pictures, of course, and anybody that's been on TikTok in the last few months or has been to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios East or West Coast has seen by now the Megan flash mob, which is
Mhm.
very. I actually love it. Every time I see it, I can't
It's
stop
more like a
watching it.
flash crowd. I wouldn't call it a flash mob. There's only about 6 of them.
There's a few more than that, but
Yeah.
that's what you would refer to that as. They just kind of spontaneously appear
Right,
and they
right,
do this dance and all of that. So, all
right.
right, give us the very brief synopsis of Megan.
Okay, so Allison Williams has this job making, like, Furbies. Remember Furbies were
I
the
love how you take her high profile career as a robotics engineer and say she makes Furbies.
Well, that's
Mike
what she
boils it
does.
down to making furry pets.
But see, you said cut it, and I was like,
Okay, you're
boom,
fair enough. Go ahead.
sliced it right.
I digress.
So anyway, the company, the boss is screaming mad because somebody copied their Furby, and he says, "I want the next big thing. I want it now. I want it Monday. I want it Friday. I want it today." So she has to go off with her team and create some new Furby, and they wind up getting this robotic skeleton, and they put a face on it and they start playing with it, and somewhere in the process they come up with a doll
Mike's
Megan.
Mike's synopsis of the film sounds about as convoluted as the
Well,
film itself.
I think that was pretty good
Well, but
considering what's ahead.
a couple of important details there, though, is that first of all, you mentioned the Furby, which I love because that's a reference from like 20 years ago now. So
Right.
that's not even a current reference, but it's a good comparison.
Yeah.
But I think it's like perpetual pet is what they called it in the
Yeah.
film. It's like this virtual pet, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and she works for this toy company called Funky or Funky or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is a side project that you're describing that she's been working on, which is this robot, right?
Right.
This companion robot
And when he
that you're.
demands that she get something, she has to kind of go to her side project.
Yeah, but she's not. She's all in on that, and coming from the standpoint that this is a toy that could replace the need for all other toys. Like this is a one and done. If you get this toy, you don't need any other toys. And her boss, David, played by Ronnie Chang, is basically saying, he shows her a commercial from a competitor that has basically the same Furby,
Mhm.
right? Toy,
Exact same.
right? And he's like, they're
Half the
making it
price.
half the price, right? So I need you to come up with a new prototype for our Furby, and I need it yesterday, right? But she's so committed to this other side project she's got, she ends up delaying the work and tells him, I need to push back the deadline on this Furby project about a week, right? Now, what we're not talking about here is what happens in the opening of the film that pairs her with her niece,
Right. Her
Katie.
sister and husband are driving. They get into a car accident. They're both killed. Katie was in the car, but she survives. And I guess in the will or whatever, her custody is given to the sister, which is Allison.
I was pleased to see because I felt, I felt I was very distraught for the child and Allison, his character Gemma. but was pleased to see that they were able to get through their grief in about 2.5 minutes. They were able to they pushed through,
I think it
they
was 3.
rallied. Yeah, I mean,
They went from hating each other to her having 0 parental skills to, "Hey, you want me to flip some pancakes?" It was just kinda
right, but
silly.
but the but again, to finish off the kind of synopsis and setting up the story is that, you know, Gemma is also looking at the finishing of this robotic or robot
Right.
project to serve as a companion for Katie,
Pe
because as you said, she's got no parenting skills herself, clearly,
Right.
right? And so this will be, this and look, this is not an original idea, right? Tech has been babysitting kids for years. And in the 70s, it was called television,
That's right.
right? It's no different. It's no
We
different.
were
But
we
that's
were sat in front of a TV for
absolutely.
8 hours, and we liked it.
That's right. And that's really a big part of the premise here and the message behind the film, right? Is that there's a potential for us to take technology too far, right? To the point where it replaces much needed human interaction, parenting, etc.
Right,
Right?
and that's the one thing that's kind of in the news now that's relevant to this movie is this discussion of AI. What's gonna happen
Right.
when the robots get smarter than us?
That's
And
right.
that's the way it's going. I
Mhm.
mean, my iPhone can get itself home better than me.
Now I got to tell you, let's dive into it so there's the setup, okay? Now, Rotten, I'm jumping to the ratings real quick because that needs to frame where we're going to go with this because I'm already like telepathy is kicked in and I already know where you're at with this film.
Yeah.
But 93%
Wow.
from the critics, 78% from the audience, and it's got about a 72 Metascore on IMDb. So
How many people reviewed it? How many
this
critics
is
reviewed it? 2?
that's over 300. That's over
See,
300. Now,
that's why I
here's
hate Rotten
this
Tomatoes.
has only happened a few times in the show, right? Where I come on here and looking at the ratings and the reviews and things, and then I watch it and I'm like, wow, I'm on a completely different planet.
We gotta get the "Oh Brother" score happening pretty soon.
Yeah, well, let's give the rundown at least because this wasn't a great film.
No.
This is not a 93%
And
critical
and,
reviewed film.
like Black Phone, remember I said I was into it? This one, I got maybe 10 minutes into it, but I'll tell you what really tanked it
Mm,
is when Megan became a real girl, and it was so obvious because she was moving like this. And then all of a sudden, she's, flipping people and slicing people's necks, and it
right,
was just stupid.
that's true, yeah. I mean, there was a lot I had a problem with this film. And again, we're two of few from what I can tell because most people seem to
Like, I
enjoy the
can't
film,
believe it's got a house at Universal
right?
along
Well,
with
and then it's greenlit
icons.
for a sequel now,
Correct.
but that's based on you look at the budget was like 12 million or something,
Right,
and it's
right.
made what $100 million. It's
So
like
y
you have to go through with the
right.
sequel at that point.
But I
But
would like to know who's liking this.
well, these are a few of the issues I had with it, right? Because now, if you look at the behind, there's a featurette you can see out on YouTube about the film, and you can look up different interviews and things and read about it. But it was intentional. The director, I guess, is known for this kind of bringing this campy sort of humor to a
Mhm.
film, but also trying to balance it with the drama and the thriller aspect of it.
Right.
But that just made it really silly to me from the beginning. And things like this, right? You mentioned that you set it up talking about the loss of her parents and this and that. You got to give something that like that a little bit more time to breathe in the film. This was like
Right.
her parents were killed in a horrific crash, and like 2 minutes on, and we're good.
Here's your new mom.
But no real signs of grief. I feel like you got to let that breathe a little bit in the film. They built Megan in like 2 minutes. Like
Right.
that whole montage, it was like 2 minutes.
Right.
There was
Right.
no build up to that, and it was very kind of silly. Honestly, you get 2/3 into the film, the only part that I enjoyed for a brief moment was that whole bit about the dance, the M3GAN dance, which is what they're doing at Halloween Horror Nights. And this was a big thing when the trailer came out. There was all this, should we put that in the trailer? Should we hold it for the theater? Whatever. They decided to include that in the trailer back when that came out. And that's what got all this buzz on social media going about it. So it turned out to be a good move,
Right.
but that's like the only thing that I got a kick out of in the film.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before too. I got up more than once, was walking around doing chores and things,
And this is a 90-minute film.
right, not paying attention. So I was just really, the acting in the film was not good.
Even
It
Allison
was
Williams,
weak.
who I normally like, she was in Get Out, I think, with
She
Jordan
was. She was in
Peele.
Girls, the series
Yeah,
Girls.
and, even she was kinda stiff. Even I think she was like,
Stiff.
"What am I doing in this movie?"
Yeah,
And she just kinda had this stiffness to her,
she did.
Molly Shannon, the girl with that doesn't move her arms on
Well, not
Seinfeld.
Who is that?
That's Sam, the new girl in accounting.
What's with their arms? They just hang like salamis.
not even the physical acting, but the delivery of lines
Yeah.
was just very kind of robotic.
Yeah.
It was kind of robotic. Like
And
shit stiff.
and do you agree with me that when eventually M3GAN gets more enhanced and all of a sudden it flips on like on a dime.
Yeah.
She goes from to
Right. Well, I suppose what the argument might be is that the whole idea behind the technology is that she's learning, right? The more that she's interacting with Katie and humans, she's learning, she's correcting, she's adapting, etc. But yeah, in terms of the physical movement,
it got
it was
silly.
like, she was going to do the flashpoint
I know.
at one point,
All
but
she didn't do was run around in circles to go back in time and get the older M3GANs.
it's a good concept, which is, again, it's not an original idea. In fact, James Wan,
Right, Annabelle,
Annabelle, there's plenty of others you can go back to. I mean,
Chucky,
Chucky,
Chucky.
Chucky, right? But it's so good. It's a good idea, but very poor execution.
Yeah,
Very poor
that's what
execution.
I thought.
There's a scene where Gemma takes Katie to some gathering in the redwood forest or something, which is kind of
Mhm,
weird, to play with other kids. So I forget what that was, but they go and she's basically bringing her to socialize with other kids, right?
mhm.
And she begs to bring M3GAN with her because at first Gemma's like, "No, we're not. She's not coming, etc." She gives in. She brings M3GAN. She sets M3GAN over against a tree with a bunch of other dolls and toys and things, right? Which was totally goofy.
Right,
But then there's this kid, Brandon, this
right,
character they introduced
like
that
a
was
bully kinda kid.
just horrible, this kid.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
acting, and I'm sorry, it was just not good. And you could see it coming from a mile away. This kid was gonna get it,
right,
and it just was kind of goofy. And she's running through the woods chasing
like a
after him at
cat.
one point, like a
Yeah,
weird, I don't know. It was just
yeah.
very bizarre. But like you said earlier, what's the attraction here? What did people love?
I don't know because
I don't get
those
it.
numbers suggest we're in the minority here.
Although it's a C rating from the audience, it's not like A plus, right? I mean, I'm shocked that the critical rating.
The critical rating stuns people on Rotten Tomatoes should be thrown off,
Well, you've said that for years on the
you know?
show that you don't give much. I gotta say though, some of the music was maybe more memorable than like Disney films of.
Maybe. I didn't even get there. Mentally, I wasn't even with that.
When did you check out exactly? At what point?
I don't know. It was early because it was so stiff.
Yeah.
And like you said, the car accident, and then it's like, okay, we're done with that. Here's your new mom. You like her, right? Oh, I was just done.
Right. And you could
And, and again, I don't, I watch all these other stupid movies like Saw and Chucky and
all right,
Freddy.
hold
I've
on
got
a
them
second.
all.
Why are you saying stupid?
Well, yeah, I'm saying it because they're not, these are not going to be nominated
I
for any kind of Academy
I don't
Awards.
think I would call it stupid.
No, I'm not. I didn't mean stupid. That's just the word that came out.
Right. Okay.
That was just the
Clean that up a
adjective
little
I
bit.
used.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
call them kinda, camp movies, like
Right.
you go to the camp and they show a movie and it's
Yeah.
Friday
Or
the 13th.
back in the old days, the
Yeah,
drive-in. This would be a great drive-in
yeah,
film. But
exactly.
dude, I just what are they gonna do for a sequel with this? It's
I
Megan
mean,
Megan 2.0 is the sequel. That's
right,
the original title.
correct.
They spent a lot of time and
Thinking
that was
about that.
greenlit very early on
Yeah.
that they were doing a sequel.
Well, it's like you said, if you make that kind of money, you can guarantee a green light.
Yeah. Well,
So
I think once the opening weekend came and went, they were like, "Okay, sequel's
I
on."
think that's what it was. It was one of those movies that came out at the right time, took in a bunch of cash over a couple of weeks.
Mhm. They bumped it up a week, I believe, to avoid some competition with actually A Man Called Otto was one of the films which we did a review on the show about that film
Yeah,
with Tom
totally,
Hanks.
totally different audience.
Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered. I don't know why they thought that
No.
was gonna cut into the bottom
Right.
line, but
Right.
yeah, this I just didn't really care for it.
Yeah.
It's not one that I would pull out again and watch.
No. It's
I don't
not
have
one I
any
would even get.
I don't have any interest in seeing the sequel, and it's just, I feel like Blumhouse, right? We've reviewed a lot of these films on
Yeah.
the podcast,
They're
and
really hit and miss.
they're very hit and miss. Well, I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about with this
No.
one. I got to be
No.
honest. I can't
No,
pretend
that's
that
it.
there's a lot to break down and analyze. Just not a great film.
No, we're done.
So we're done. Now, what is a great film in my estimation that just came in the old mailbox recently was my steelbook collector's edition of
Oh,
Rob
yeah.
Zombie's original, the first Rob Zombie Halloween, which
Your
I
favorite.
love. It's a 2-disc collector's edition, and I don't know if you got your notification, but the 20-year anniversary set of H2O
This week.
is gonna be hitting my mailbox tomorrow as of this recording, so
Oh,
I'm
okay. So maybe I'll get
super,
it.
super excited about adding that to
Yeah.
the collection. So, again, few physical media that I will invest in, but this is one of them, and well, there's one I know you don't have to worry about investing in a display, and that's M3GAN, folks.
No.
It's a swing and a miss, here for the Oh Brother podcast. Listen, Mike, Halloween Fest is gonna continue to roll on. We got some super exciting things happening. One of them I wanna mention, again, as of this recording, the Oh Brother podcast, the one and only Oh Brother podcast, Mike, is gonna be where?
In Orlando.
We're gonna be in Orlando at the 20-year Spooky Empire convention in Orlando. So if you happen to be visiting the area during the end of October, October 27th through the 29th, Mike and I are going to be live at Spooky Empire all weekend.
Come up and
Mike,
say
I
hello.
I cannot express how stoked I am to be there. This is gonna
If I'm
be
not sipping
incredible.
martinis with Kiefer Sutherland, come up and say hello if
Sounds
I
like
am.
you've already been dipping into the martinis,
Well,
perhaps. Keevers, yeah. No, you got
It's my broken rib.
the lineup is incredible. Spooky Empire, the dark side of Comic-Con. Make sure that if you're in the area, you come out and say hello. We're gonna have a table there all weekend. Looking forward to covering that whole
We'll
weekend
do at
event.
least, a show a day from there, I would
We're gonna be live
imagine.
streaming throughout that whole weekend. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fantastic. Now, if you're not currently following us, make sure that you do. The easiest way to find all things Oh Brother is to go out to the Oh Brother official website, Mike, which is OHB as in brother podcast.com. Now, this is our YouTube handle, which is at Oh Brother Podcast, but you can go out to the official website, ohbpodcast.com. You can find all the links to all of our other sites,
Don't be
Instagram.
fooled by
We're
any
on
other
socials.
brothers.
Often imitated, never duplicated, my friend. It's the one and
That's
only Oh
right.
Brother Podcast. But make sure that you follow us there, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos, turn on the notification bell. Make sure that you do that so you never miss an episode of the Oh Brother Podcast. Some great other episodes and content that are being pushed out every week. We've got Oh Brother Rewind. We've got Oh Brother on the Street. We've got
Yeah,
First
tomorrow. Oh
Looks.
no, tonight. Tonight, it's too
Well,
late to tell people.
as of this recording, yeah.
Right.
But,
Right.
so lots of content out there for you to enjoy, and we're on all podcast platforms too, so if you enjoy, listening to your podcast and watching your podcasts like I do, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, like, wherever you find your podcasts, that's where we're at.
Everywhere.
YouTube Music, we're everywhere. But, yeah, that's gonna do it, Mike. This is a very,
I was
get in, get
disappointed.
out. Very
I
disappointing.
wanted, I saw a nice tight film. I wanted to just, that's the one thing about horror films. You just get away. You
Mhm.
just kind of like go somewhere else with your brain.
Right.
And I really was looking forward to that. And
Yeah,
it
I
just
went
didn't
somewhere else.
happen.
I went in the next room and I was doing
Yeah.
laundry while this was
My
on.
brain left, but never came back.
Now, if you're in disagreement with us, and we often say on the podcast that we're just giving our opinion. It's just our take
Right.
on it. We're not claiming to be right or you're wrong, whatever. But we do love to hear from you. So if you love Megan, if you agree with
Yes.
us, whatever your take is on it, drop us some comments on the video and let us know your thoughts. We love interacting with everybody out there, and we don't pass any judgment. It's just we have our opinion, you have yours. So I would like to hear thoughts on this one though, because
Yeah.
again, it's not an overwhelming rating from the audience in terms of like Rotten Tomatoes, but you know, it made some bank. So clearly, it was
Yeah.
well received overall. But
And those numbers don't lie. Even the audience number, which is lower, which is a
Mhm.
C, still pretty high to me.
It is, yeah. Well, it's very close to B rating. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little too high for my
Yeah.
liking. But all right, well, that's gonna do it for another episode of the Over There Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith, and we will see you next time.
Boo, everyone.